my god! We've been in that hibernation pod from 7 years since we last did this commentary, and oh no. Pedro, Dwibs, wake up.
Unfortunately, it looks like I've actually aged while in hibernation, so which basically this defeats the whole point of cryogenically freezing me. So
The
I
technology
guess
is
I just
still
play.
working.
Well, hey, there is one benefit. At least it doesn't feel like 7 years. It just felt like normal sleeping time for me.
Yes.
Unfortunately, this film feels like it takes 7 years.
In fact, not only has it been 7 years since we last did our original commentary of this movie, but this movie actually was in development for 7 years itself, actually. It was written in 2007, but was only properly acquired by Sony in 2014, when it truly started development, essentially. I'm not really counting the filming time. Alright, folks, you know the drill. When we do a Generations bout, that means it's been long enough and we have some newer intel to show, or we're just doing a nice quick cleanup to give you a more polished commentary, even if this may be one of our classics. The Passengers, a movie written in 2007 by a writer of the name of John Spates. However, it languished in development because, while it got many actors attached, many grew apart from the project, essentially. Believe it or not, originally, at one point, this movie was supposed to star Keanu Reeves and Emily Blunt. It also had actors such as Reese Witherspoon, Rachel McAdams, and whatnot. Just to give you an idea of the different time eras it went through. Although, to be fair, Keanu Reeves is still a big name of this day, but yeah, Reese Witherspoon was kind of one of the darlings of a time. No, but they got the darlings of, well, at the time of this movie, when it was made, Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. Now, to Chris Pratt's credit, I believe this was before he truly reached the levels of overexposure that made people groan at his involvement in the Mario movie. But all the same, in hindsight, he feels terribly miscast for this project. In fact, from what Dwibs has told me, it seems like it's kind of a miracle this movie even truly came to fruition with just how much stuff wasn't clicking.
I don't think even Keanu Reeves' awesomeness would have saved this, and especially considering how back in the late 2000s when he was the original pick, he was kind of in a slump career-wise.
Oh, yes,
So-
look. It's honestly kind of amazing he managed to go from being super popular to super lame to suddenly mega awesome popular nowadays. But, enough beating around the bush. It's time to go back to that fateful venture.
Back to the past to watch the shitty movie that sucks ass.
Alright, folks, assuming you're looking at a digital copy, start right at the black screen right before the Sony logo pops up. 3, 2, 1, click. So, Dwibs, if I recall correctly, you were the one out of us who actually had the pleasure of seeing this movie in theaters.
I did, yeah. Well, I mean, while I don't think it should be used as a crutch for quality, I normally like watching films not based off anything. Just, something entirely on its own, not just
IP-based
being
one,
tied to
yeah.
a franchise, yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's,
I get it.
The critic reception was 30%, so yeah, the critics were not kind to this. Audiences were more lenient; they gave it a 63%. So there's that. The critics' consensus reads: "Passengers proves Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence work well together, and that even their chemistry isn't enough to overcome a fatally flawed story."
So,
If only Jennifer Lawrence had listened to Adele. I'm not kidding. In 2022, Jennifer Lawrence said in an interview, Adele basically said, "Don't do it."
boy, Adele was right.
It's like Jennifer Lawrence is the biggest waste of one of the biggest wastes of talent in the acting field that in a while.
Alright, so I'll start off with one of the problems I have with this movie. I don't really like the tech design of this ship, or how a lot of these systems work, but that's probably more in the writing. But visually, this movie is kind of not for me. I do wonder what the logistics thought. Yes, a helix will be the perfect sturdy design for a spaceship meant to cargo people to the new world.
Well, also, Mrs. Lawrence, as I should say, this movie actually made her rethink her choice in roles.
Oh wow, yeah, so this movie is pretty bad.
And it convinced her, along with a bunch of other films, to take a little 2-year hiatus from acting.
Dang. And yes, the movie was a bomb. On a budget of 110 to 150 million, it made only 303.1 million. Size-worthy, yes, but you know the typical rules essentially. A movie needs to make double or 2.5 times its budget. Now, technically, 2 times 150 million is 300 million, so one could say it technically profited into that. However, only 3.1 million over, it was definitely considered a box office disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Which, on the one hand, maybe I assume they weren't even planning to really make a franchise out of this. I would hope not, though who knows with Sony, honestly. So, anyway, our plot kicks off by, well, a technological malfunction. The ship, which was supposed to shield from meteors, kind of accidentally took a few hits because its shield failed enough, which prompts the awakening of this guy here.
Of Star-Lord, I mean, Jim.
James Preston.
No, it isn't.
Is she trying to tell him, or is she trying to tell the audience who paid money to see this in theaters?
But my name's not Jim. If it were really clever, it would. It could be one of those movies that has a slightly different dialogue depending on what your name is.
So, yes, basically, humanity is to a point where they make starbound ventures across the galaxy, which, as you can imagine, would normally last light years. So, what do? They put passengers in cryogenic sleep for the majority of the voyage until like 4 months, which gives them time to reacclimate and basically enjoy it like a leisure cruise.
So the movie was scored by Thomas Newman.
Thomas Newman. Where have I heard that name before?
Finding Nemo, Series of Unfortunate Events, Wally.
Okay, not a bad pick.
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen. If you ever wanted to see Chris Pratt's arse in a movie, there you go.
Dude, you're Chris Pratt. I'm sure there will be plenty interested in you.
Well, where is everybody?
Huh. Guess he's the only person in the class.
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, I said shut up. Yeah, okay. One major problem with this movie, in my opinion, is this dickhead.
You know, knowing what happens, you'll have to be more specific between the two.
Well, to start with, he's just here, but yeah, as we go on through the movie, yeah, this guy's a fucking arsehole. We'll get more into that as we go along. Aside from Pratt and Lawrence, we've also got Michael Sheen as an android bartender, Lawrence Fishburne, who we'll see in a moment, and among others, Andy Garcia, who doesn't talk.
Joy.
So Morten Tilden, he's a director from Norway, who's previously done stuff such as The Imitation Game, Headhunters. His most recent work has been for television. He did a few episodes of a TV show called Silo. But yeah, he hasn't done a film since this movie.
Wow. Is this the movie that kills careers? I mean, obviously not all, since, well, Chris Pratt's is still running. Although, to be fair, he had the MCU, so he had a nice life raft at the time. You don't say.
Wasn't at the time, wasn't Jennifer Lawrence there also at the time tired of the X-Men movies, vocally speaking? I think she vocally said something about that.
She might have been, I think. Well, this came out
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same year Apocalypse did.
I know
yeah.
that by the time of Dark Phoenix, she was definitely sick of having to put on all the makeup, which is why Mystique has less of her markings by the time of Dark Phoenix.
I think that's also why the upcoming Avengers movie is bringing back Rebecca Romijn.
Well, crud.
I feel like the exposition would have been better delivered if instead of having Chris Pratt research all this shit, Instead, maybe we could have had an opening narration where we get to see all this shit happen in real time instead of just having Chris Pratt for the first 20 minutes constantly go through computers.
On the one hand, I get what they're trying to do. They want to emphasize how he is well and truly on his own as it is, which is to try and make a case for his actions later. That being said, I do agree with Pedro that at some points the exposition just feel a bit dumped on. What do you think, Dwibs?
I've seen worse.
Oh, sure. I mean, it will never be as bad as Last Airbender.
Oh, God, no. So, in the future, the ship didn't think to have a protocol for, in case somebody, prematurely got woken up. Because the technology was oh so perfect and could never fail.
I mean, isn't there a way he can cryogenically put himself to sleep again? Did they honestly make this technology in a way where if you wake up prematurely, there's no way to fix that? Because that's a recipe for a disaster. Like, why, yes, I
There
also
he
saw The
is.
Shine. I also saw The Shining. It was a much better movie than this one.
Heh. Hi, Michael Sheen. Michael Sheen being the best actor in a schlocky romance story. Where have I seen this before?
Indeed.
Like,
Okay, and now it's okay. So, yeah, wake up, sunshine.
I'm sorry, I just find it a little ridiculous that there's really no protocol to help this man out, essentially. I think maybe.
Yeah. So basically, no one planned any safety measures in case something went wrong. Really. So basically, this entire expedition was doomed to fail. It's like, oh my god, this is just like Prometheus.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I remember around the time Prometheus came out and when it got a mixed reception, everyone blamed David Lindelof for that. But
Yeah.
after this film, I'm like, maybe John Spates' ideas were pretty shit from the start.
Not just that, but basically, in Prometheus, they decide to go into to explore a new planet where they think there might be aliens in it, and they bring no, and I do mean zero ways of defending themselves. No guns, no soldiers that can potentially protect them from any kinds of threats. No, it's just a bunch of scientists going to this weird planet where they don't know what they'll find, and yet they have zero ways to protect themselves. So, as you can see, Jova, just like in this movie, that expedition is kind of doomed to fail. It's basically doomed to fail when you get right down to it. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I have yet to see Prometheus, but the thing I definitely hear the most of it is like it sounds
It's
like a
stupid.
competition for the Darwin Award, basically, between the technology and the people on the exposition.
For example, there's a scene where they literally see an alien creature thing, right? And their first, and I'm not shitting you, Jova, their first instinct is to touch it and put their finger in its mouth.
Oh my
you know?
god.
Not just that, Jova. These are supposed to be scientists, and yet when they first arrive at the planet, they immediately remove their helmet. Even though one of them even says, "Don't do that. We don't know if the air is habitable." And they go, "Don't be such a skeptic." A skeptic? That has nothing to do with being a skeptic. It has to do with the fact that you don't know if the planet is habitable to humans. You fucking idiot.
These are supposed to be super smart researchers, right?
Scientists. These are supposed to be scientists. You know, like, what is it with the mid-2010s and sci-fi writers writing stupid science? Because remember, this character is also meant to be an engineer, so he's also meant to be smart.
To his credit, he does seem to be trying to get stuff done at least, but it seems like it ain't working.
All these things do is make me wish I was watching Kubrick's The Shining.
Live a little, eh?
Live a little. And yeah, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while, of course, like we just explained, I think he spends like a full year before Jennifer Lawrence wakes up, I think.
I believe something to that regard, yeah.
I mean, if you can't... Okay, so you can't contact Earth and you can't go back to sleep. I guess the experiment is failed then.
Okay. So apparently, again, it's not so much an experiment, but people going to live on a different planet because
Yeah, sorry, the expedition.
Yeah.
There you go. It's something we don't see every day. Chris Pratt with a long beard.
Yeah, he's kind of going a bit stir crazy. More Chris Pratt ass.
Okay, are there any other shitty Chris Pratt movies I could make a joke of that would make it look like this.
Make it
Let me
look like
see.
this.
But to make it look like this guy, make it look like some homeless person on the street with that big
I'm
beard and
seeing.
everything.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Well, that doesn't make them have a beard. Never mind. Does he ever get a beard in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie? I don't think so. Does he?
Not from what I can
Not
recall.
neither of the MC movies. I'm pretty sure. Okay. No, I don't think so. From all the movies of his that I know, and then if I'm looking at his biography right now, it doesn't. The only one I can think of that gave him a beard was this one. Okay, Chris, listen to me. Unfortunately, because of reasons, you are going to you are now doomed to being in constant animated roles that don't suit you at all. So we need to put you here so we can cryogenically freeze you so that Hollywood doesn't try to overuse you.
Honestly, he kind of reminds me more. He looks like David Harbour.
I mean, when did Gravity come out? I think it was around
2013.
Okay. Yeah. Watch if you want a better sci-fi movie, watch Gravity. It has a somewhat similar premise, somewhat.
If I can close my eyes, I can imagine them watching Finding Nemo instead. Because
The music, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I'll give this movie. The music is good. That said, rarely is a movie ever saved solely by its soundtrack.
No, it's not likely. No.
Like, shoot, if that were the case, then Quest for
now
Camelot
it
would be
looks like
hailed as a
he's-
masterpiece. But yes, he is to that point where he was indeed considering suicide. He is indeed at his lowest point in the Yamcha pose.
Yeah, it does look like the Yamcha pose, yeah.
But hark! This sudden slip has made him stumble upon fate when he comes across a literal sleeping beauty.
What, is she the only woman on the ship or something?
It's just the first one that he found, apparently.
A huge chunk of the human race on the ship, and I guess this was just the first woman he saw in all these coffins. Oh god, she's even called Aurora.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, this part I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
we
now-
were gonna
and
get to
now
this
Chris
point
Pratt,
eventually.
Yeah, now Chris Pratt basically becomes a stalker because he starts literally using the computer to research everything about her life.
Okay, look, I get that he is starved for company. He has been driven insane, but my first question is, why this woman in particular? Like, why no one else whose case he may have passed by? And again,
Now
to
he's talking to a sleeping
okay,
body.
okay, to the film's credit, he is clearly out of his mind at this point. Now, as long as the movie doesn't try to portray his feelings for her as a truly good thing by the end, it'll be just fine.
Like, if anything, okay, if you really wanted this to be a thing, if anything, you could have had it so that the meteor or asteroid or whatever it was that hit the ship causes both of them to wake up at the same time.
Yes, exactly. That's what they should have done, or have it be that a malfunction has her wake up later, essentially. Like, okay, this movie is derided heavily because of what happens later in the plot. I mean, okay, it's been almost a decade since this movie came out, so chances are, if you've heard of this movie, you know about the controversy, but I will put it like this. If it weren't for that one controversy, this movie probably would have been regarded as mediocre at worst, essentially. But here we go. Now, he's been reading this operation manual on the hibernation pod, so you think, well, the rational thing to do would be try and fix it so that it can work on him. Oh boy. Now, again, I want to be fair. The plot could potentially work with this, provided it does not try to ultimately say that this is a good thing he's doing.
And to be fair, like, I even but you know that it's wrong to do that. So the movie is acknowledging right now that him doing this is not good. So there's that.
The emphasis is right now, though.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Just a machine? Dude, you're talking to the actor who made the Twilight films watchable. But okay, to his credit, yeah, as much good company as Arthur is, he's, a machine. He doesn't have the qualities that make another human a human being. And also, to the movie's credit, it's not like he immediately goes through with it. We see he thinks a good, long, hard time on it. In fact, he even tries to say he's not going to do it at first. But, okay, to be fair, as easy as it would be to say you wouldn't do this, it's a lot different from actually being in that circumstance. So, again, it might be understandable that he did this. That is not in and of itself the problem with this plot.
All right, and here's Chris Pratt back to his more iconic look.
God, he looked like discount Matthew Lillard back in the day.
And then Ian shows up. Barley, no.
Again, so he's smart enough to tamper with the hibernation devices to cause hers to malfunction, and okay, maybe it's easier to make them mess up than to get them to work, but why does he more or less give up on trying to get his pod to work again? Smart engineer that he is. And there's a manual. Surely that manual has a, by the way, if you want to get your pod working again, here's what to do in these steps.
The problem isn't even like as we've just talked about the miscasting here. Again, the problem isn't even Chris Pratt himself. He's a great actor. He's charismatic. The problem is that Hollywood keeps casting him in roles where he just doesn't fit. Again, like the Mario movie, Garfield.
It's the
like,
overexposure, basically.
And that doesn't help either. Not to mention, like, I mean, like, look, the reason he's great in Onward is because the role was actually written for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also this and the use of a trope used later on in this movie disgusted critics so much that in their reviews they deliberately spoiled the plot and asked readers not to see the film.
Damn. I mean, normally I'd say that's in bad form, but
Oh, and look at that! He's gonna he hit, and he's gonna try and hide the fact that he did it, which means here we have a liar reveal story.
Oh, great! As if this film wasn't appealing to me enough. A film has to be really bad to get more than one critic to go out and deliberately spoil the movie so that people wouldn't see it. I mean, what else would there be? The only thing I could think of would be if a universally regarded as immoral action was portrayed as a good thing.
like, God help me, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but School Days, of all things, handles this sort of stuff better because typically when the protagonist does stupid stuff, he usually ends up axed for it. Which, okay, yeah, I might as well get a bit ahead of the game here. The plot will eventually try to suggest that this was a good thing, or, believe it or not, again, it's a love story with a woman who is stranded with the man who more or less killed her in the grand sense. Just the two of us. Yeah, it's been a year since he woke up. You just gotta love it. I get it. You want to have the crew be nice and secure, but they seriously put them behind something that won't allow a typical passenger to get through. Like, sorry.
That's the thing. Like I said, okay, here's the thing. Like, if anything, would it make more sense for the crew to be automatically awakened in case something like this happens, right? And then, like I said, have the hibernation pod thingies be able to restart because you're literally asking for trouble. Like, no safety measures, no ways to put the passengers and the crew back to sleep in case something goes wrong. Like, seriously, you're asking for trouble. Like,
It's
did
like
they even plan? Did they plan through this shit through, like, at all?
it's like you're seriously telling me in all the simulations that they truly must have run for a project this big that none of this came up in the hypotheticals.
Well, Jova, I guess you just answered your own question. There were no simulations.
Which has led some people to basically dub this as Titanic but Starbound, a story about a ship doomed because of people who could not foresee the mechanics. That also includes a love story.
So according to the movie, they're put into hibernation before they get in the pod. The pod just keeps them that way.
See, the thing is, in the Titanic story, both the real-life version and the movie version, That story is a story about the pompousness of man, because the people who made that ship and people sailing it were genuinely convinced that nothing could sink that ship. It was like the stupidity of the voyage was a part of the story and was properly addressed. In here, the stupidity of the scenario that me and Joe are complaining about never comes up. The movie never addresses this.
Yeah, it's
it just expects us to swallow this. Like,
and like, I get it. One could say, well, that's just the way it is. The thing is, there are writers in charge. Like, as much as we want to talk about what's realistic or whatnot, this is a movie. A universe controlled by the writers, and not really breaking the mold here, but reality does not make for the most interesting or coherent of stories for a piece of media.
and because I know somebody is going to mention suspension of disbelief, allow me to explain something again. Suspension of disbelief does not mean you throw away all logic. It just means it just allows me to believe that the human race is capable of creating such a vessel and such a project. It allows me to believe that there's fantasy worlds or anything like that shit. But that doesn't necessarily mean you throw away all logic. A story needs to have rules, because if there are no rules, there's no tension in that story, because there's nothing to fear.
So yes, welcome to the main plot, ladies and gentlemen, a love story. Which, okay, to their credit, it seems that Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence have great chemistry in this movie. Shame it is, again, about a man who effectively doomed this woman, and again, let me be fair. You could have made this work.
Oh, they just...
That's convenient. They never came up with a protocol because, they're fail-safe, and there hasn't been a mess-up in 1,000 years.
Oh, yes, because as we all know, the fact that something never happened before clearly means that it will never happen in the future. Brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
We talked about the Titanic, but in real life, the Titanic disaster is what made people realize that more safety protocol measures needed to be put into place. God damn it. But yes, she's a more high-class customer.
So basically, turns out the reason the hibernation pods can't be put into function to get them to sleep again is because they never put in that functionality, because, as the machine just said it, in 1,000 years, there's never been an issue with this.
Quote unquote, they are fail-safe.
So their reasoning is, it never happened before. Well, okay, but the fact that it never happened before doesn't mean it will never happen in the future.
Hey, Pedro, our house has never caught on fire. We don't need this fire extinguisher. We should just get rid of it.
Of course. That makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Hey, look, nobody's broke into my building, so I should just fire my security personnel. Like, Jesus, have you never heard of preventative measures?
I love it. They address the plot hole by just putting another plot hole in its place.
So yes, you can imagine Aurora isn't going to take this lying down.
I will say this, for as crap as the movie is, I will say, just like I said last time, I do have fun making fun of it, so there's that.
Oh, definitely, like, I would totally spend time riffing on this movie.
The movie's really stupid. It's kind of like with Prometheus, like, it's just think of it as a comedy of errors, and you'll be fine.
It helps that it wasn't supposed to be a comedy. That's the magic of bad movies. As long as it's not a comedy... If a movie is bad, it shifts into comedy mode that makes you laugh. The problem is when it's a bad comedy, since, well, if it's a bad comedy, that means it is legit failing to make you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one thing that James has noticed is that stuff seems to be malfunctioning around the ship. Again, a totally fail-safe ship. Okay, we got Chris Pratt's ass. Now here's Jennifer Lawrence in a swimsuit. Okay, I won't lie, that is a pretty cool swimming pool, though, with a space view.
You know, it's the interesting thing. My wife actually, because we watch this movie once or twice whenever we want to have a bad movie night and drink while we watch it.
Uh
My wife I actually asked my wife about that, and she actually says, his ass isn't even all that great. It's just average. She says.
huh. I mean, that is. Okay, far be it from me to judge based on appearances. I get that Chris Pratt has charisma, but I never got why Hollywood just really fell fascinated with this man. Like, what about Chris Pratt made everyone think, oh yeah, we absolutely need him? Like, don't get me wrong, like, MCU factor, sure, but there are plenty of other actors in the MCU who didn't get nearly this much exposure.
To be fair, this is a common thing Hollywood has done for
So
since
this
its
with Game of
inception.
Thrones as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Game of Thrones was the jam, basically. Once you got into Game of Thrones, suddenly everyone wanted you. That's fair, but I do wonder, when... well, okay, to be fair, Guardians of the Galaxy was a stellar trilogy. Like, it managed to make a group of D-listers at best suddenly A-named recognizable. So that might be why there was a big attachment to Chris Pratt. So can a mechanic of the lower class and a writer of the higher class make it work in romance? Well, maybe if one didn't screw over the other, but she doesn't need to know that. Love knows its way. Again, that's the annoying thing. They do have chemistry. The problem is, well, the circumstance of their relationship. Now, the movie will try, the keyword being try, but the movie will address what he did with her eventually. Again, chances are you know about the outcome of this movie, but I'll just say the ending might surprise you, and not in a good way. Do you now?
Sure you do.
Whoops. Heh.
Okay, she got one right.
How can you how can you say that? You don't know the first thing about her. What?
No. She does. She knows she's a midwife.
I get the feeling this is supposed
Okay.
to be her version
Yeah, but
of.
for all, but for all you know, maybe she's an evil psychopath. For all you know, the fact that she's a midwife is not really enough to make that call.
Pedro, don't you know all midwives are saints?
Uh, uh, okay. See, this is the other thing. See, look at this. The set design feels very 2001 in this place here. Like, I get
Ooh,
the feeling
Space Odyssey.
I get the feeling the production designer was a huge Kubrick fan.
You know what? Between that and the Shining potential allegory, yeah, I think you might be onto something there. Dance party, huh? Okay, so it's not just dance, though it looks similar enough.
There you go. 30 years from now, this is what Just Dance will be like.
Good lord.
Holograms. I mean, will Ubisoft still exist at this point?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Don't worry, Des. I'm sure some company will buy all their IPs.
It'd be like when WCW, who were once making money hand over fist only a few years prior, got bought by the WWF at the time for just a few $1 million.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
Yeah, he has no shame.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
He
yeah.
don't have pants.
Uh,
It feels like Michael Sheen bringing that Twilight energy.
No. If it was his Twilight energy, he would say it in a very high-pitched voice.
True. I guess I meant more so Michael Sheen trying to bring brightness to, again,
Girl, bring her to me.
you know, again, this is the most frustrating thing about this movie. Arguably, what we have is good chemistry and what could be considered an interesting romance story, two people stranded in time and space essentially together, except, again, the means it was brought about.
Mm-hmm. Like, if anything, it would have made more sense to here's like drop the whole he's a stalker who woke her up because of his madness thing. Instead, have it again. They both get woken up by the asteroid whatever thing that hit the ship. I forgot what it was.
okay, there is one comedy thing I heard from some people as to how they maybe could improve this movie, is that have the whole he woke her up thing be a twist where she wakes up first and meets him, and then it's revealed that he woke her up later on in a twist. And would that make the movie that much better, though?
Okay.
I mean, it would add a sense of mystery to it, but I'm not. I'll argue the problems are at the core are still there. Would have made more sense instead. It would have made like just go full on the romance aspect instead have them be woken up at the same time, completely unbeknownst, without any fault to either of them. Have them just try their best to, and basically they become the ones who take care of everything else and try to make sure that nobody else wakes up, and they basically sacrifice themselves. They grow old together and die, but at the same time they sacrifice themselves so that they can make sure that everybody else arrives there as planned. And then at the end of the movie they get hailed by the survivors as heroes, or something along those lines. You could have done something like that, but no. I literally just pulled a much better movie out of my ass right now, guys. They just like
It's insane because this could have legit been a good movie, but it's that one aspect that just careens it into kind of an abomination in the long run.
Spates had 9 years to realize that. Could this movie have just been about Chris Pratt and Michael Sheen or something?
That would have been funny, but don't you see, Dweebs, he needs another human, though.
uh, uh.
Yeah, that's the thing. Normally these kind of jokes would be funny, but because of what happened, because of this arsehole, it isn't. It's just creepy. Because, like I said before, just because something's the point of the movie, that doesn't excuse it from being badly executed. Like I could say,
Oh yeah.
like it'd be like, for example, if I worked at Pedro's restaurant, and I made a cake really badly on purpose. Pedro was like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" I'm like, I made this cake deliberately bad. And Pedro's like, "Why'd you do that? It looks terrible." But that's the point. No, get out. You're fired. Oh god, yeah, if this movie were any creepier, you would have turned around and saw her naked. He even went to turn around there, but not.
Oh, a date out in space. Wally did
Oh,
Yeah,
it
this
it's
would.
better.
romantic.
I wish I was watching Wally right now. Look how impressive our scale
Holy
is.
cow, that felt like a legit Titanic shot there.
Okay. This is the only film with Morton Tildums that I've seen, but so far, at least to me, he just comes off like he's just imitating other directors, as opposed to doing, having his own style.
Do you trust
We
me?
have
Who do you think you are, Aladdin?
we have Kubrick at home. We have Pixar at home.
James
We have,
Cameron at home.
yeah, James
We have,
Cameron at home.
and for whatever reason, we also have Prometheus at home.
Oh god, why would you want Prometheus at home?
Okay, I am pretty sure there are amazing filmmakers that hail from Norway.
Oh, sure.
Tildum so far isn't one of them.
That's the director of this movie, right?
Yeah,
To his credit, I want to say I feel like he's doing fine as a director. Like, the performances here are good. I feel like the main thing holding this thing down is the writing.
not sure how much input Tildum had into that, if any.
And here we go. Time to talk about the big debate. Did he potentially Stockholm Syndrome her into loving him to this degree?
Probably more than bloody likely. I said, I think so, yeah. Have you guys seen anything like this done even worse? Because I would dread that.
Okay, I've seen movies with a similar premise. The big difference is, well, they commit to portraying it as a bad thing. Down, girl, down! Sure, it'd be awkward if you got pregnant.
I mean, I don't even think their child would survive 90 years, would they?
Assuming
Oh, it's
they grow up
possible.
healthy, they could, yeah. Like, obviously, 90 years for these two is kind of a life sentence, but assuming the child is raised well enough to know what they're doing, they could probably live to the rest of it.
Accidental. Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
but the plot would have been
Yeah,
so much better if they really were just accidental strangers. And I get.
you know,
Yeah,
seriously.
exactly.
A lot of this dialogue is so ironic. I'm surprised this film isn't called Irony the Movie.
I'm pretty sure that's the thing. I'm pretty sure that the writer genuinely believes he's being really smart right now with this irony. That's the thing.
Oh, God!
Again,
Guys,
just
guys,
like
guys, guys!
Privy.
We're passengers! He said it! That's the title of the movie!
They've already said it a bunch of times, I think.
Yeah.
The sex helps, I guess. Regarding the whole, making it so that the second act reveals that he did this to her as a plot twist could have helped make this into something of a psychological horror movie. But that is sadly not what the movie is going for.
Jesus Christ.
There's
This really is Irony the Movie.
There's only so many times I can say the same thing before it gets old, so I'll just move on. Oh
It's
no,
like
we're
that.
gonna
It's like that.
burn.
It's like that trailer. It reminds me of that trailer for one of those Nicholas Sparks-esque movies that wasn't actually made by him at all. It involved Rachel McAdams and Channing Tatum, and the trailer used the word love so many times.
Yeah, that's
God.
because that's the whole thing with Nicholas Sparks. Nicholas Sparks.
Well, Nicholas Sparks-esque. Yeah, he had nothing to do with that movie.
Yeah, I'll talk about specifically the books he's wrote, as well as the movie adaptations of his work. Yeah, once you've seen a Nicholas Sparks story, you've seen them all. It's always the exact same tired formula.
Even this bit there looks like they're framing for a poster for a Nicholas Sparks movie.
Nicholas Sparks. I don't know if I've ever
The
seen
guy who wrote
any
the
yet.
the guy who wrote the Notebook.
I have
The
not
book, I
seen
mean,
that
not
yet.
the movie.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, but the Notebook is his most popular book, and by extension, the most popular movie based on his work. Let me put it in a way you'll understand, Jova. Imagine Makoto Shinkai, but without the supernatural aspects of his work. That's Nicholas Sparks,
Okay.
but without the supernatural stuff, like over the top, super duper beautiful romance.
Yeah.
Oh, is this a bit where
Yep. I believe it's time. Oops. Ladies and
I
gentlemen.
cannot.
Yeah.
I really cannot believe that they really thought, "Yep, we're going with this," and nobody thought of, "Hey guys, maybe we could have them wake up at the same time. Let's eliminate the creepy shit out of this,
Okay.
because it doesn't make it interesting. It just makes it creepy and uncomfortable."
Again, if you wanted to do something that creepy, there needed to eventually be consequences, which, okay, there technically will be now, but again, let's just wait and see how this all plays out.
You did it. You didn't try very hard.
Oh boy. Yeah, she's having a panic attack. That is fair. So here's an interesting idea. Now play the movie as something where she is trapped, essentially on a ship with her stalker, essentially. It could have been an interesting turn into a horror format, or hell, have her go crazy and try and kill him. I mean, Lord knows something's got us since we have, about 53 minutes left on this movie still.
Well, not counting credit. Well, that's counting credits, so technically it will be less than that.
But
Yeah.
yes.
Oh no, the fucking stalker is sad. Piss off.
And that's the thing. The movie, okay, the movie should treat this not as just a breakup, but a breaking point where essentially she, well, where, it's pretty much over. Except
Not just
the way the format of the scene will go, it's treated more like a third act misunderstanding rather than a second act breakup.
It's also the other problem as well is that the movie didn't really do a good job in making both of them compelling characters either sing on their own or even together, because again the romances also vary by the numbers. It feels like, again, like a Nicholas Sparks movie. Their personalities are not particularly well fleshed out. Again, this whole thing is just very the romance writing and
It's
the overall
sick.
character writing.
Like, here's what I would.
Well, that's a story writing. I'm talking about their personality specifically.
Here's what I would have done if I.
They're not particularly well written characters. Not particularly.
He deserved that.
There's a lot more than that.
Again, it would be interesting if the movie committed to basically this turn where, yes, she does indeed try to murder him. Like, turn it from a romance into a psychological horror thriller. But she can't bring herself to do it.
You're not helping with with this now.
Is Brother really trying to give her the equivalent of a mixtape to try and make it better?
You're trying to guilt trip her, you fucking knob.
Again, this could be interesting if they frame this like a horror, like, him trying to convince her, or her succumbing to madness and then becoming the villain as she tries to kill him. But no, they don't commit to that. The thing is, this movie constantly does have saving throws that it could go for, but it constantly doesn't take.
So basically, what you're saying, Joe, is that this is one of those cases where you do side with the film critics over the film audiences.
Yeah, that's an appropriate response.
Yeah. Because remember, film audiences thought the movie was fine. whereas the critics were the ones who panned it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I-
okay. Yeah, this is. I'm gonna side with the critics on this one because
Yeah.
anyone who thinks this is romantic needs a fucking slap.
like,
Go ahead, what, Jova?
I can maybe try and get where some audiences are coming from. It's just that, okay, look. Yes, one could argue that, yeah, he's not made of stone. He did this. I can get that. My issue is that I don't think the movie truly commits to the consequences of him being found out, though, as much as it could have.
Jim, stop showing up. She doesn't want to see you.
Oh my god, they're literally holding custody battles over Arthur like a divorced couple.
Yeah, that's the thing. The most sympathetic character in this movie is the bloody android.
That,
So just like in Prometheus.
Yeah,
and again, but yeah, no, just like in Twilight, Michael Sheen is the best actor in a schlocky romance flick.
Sure, it's that thing where like it's kind of like what we said, like it's like, for example, nowadays it becomes abundantly clear that the first Deadpool movie was great, not so much because of Tim Miller, but in spite of him, considering what came after.
Get it? Thematically, it might be just what she was looking for. Oh? My goodness. Life can grow on the ship after all.
There, I planted a tree.
that makes up for it.
Babe, I grew a
Not just
tree.
that.
Please take me back.
Seriously, the logistics of this make no sense. Like, how do you plant a tree in an artificial spaceship? That doesn't work.
I'm
Maybe it's an artificial tree.
I guess.
I get the feeling that's not how
Wow,
it's supposed to work.
look at that! Oh, wow, look at that, Webs. This is so disgusting. Even the movie's vomiting right now.
I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah, but no, I'm sorry. The movie doesn't get to vomit at its own shitty writing.
I don't know about you guys, but I think the fail-safe ship that never fails is glitching.
But hey, here comes someone else who makes this movie somewhat not completely
I'm,
unbearable.
I'm starting to think
Lawrence
whoever designed.
Fishburne.
Lawrence
Hey,
Fishburne,
Lawrence.
what were you doing here? Like, come on,
I'm st-
dude, you're better than this.
I'm starting to think whoever designed this spaceship was the same moron who designed the Death Star.
Well, crud.
I was supposed to only wake up when John Wick 2 came about, but I woke up too early.
Ah, he's a deck chief. He just said don't touch anything.
Well, Joe, that he can't respect a woman's personal space and life. What makes you think he's going to respect what this guy tells him to do?
The
Okay,
Matrix
remind
has
me. I
been
must have.
very glitchy lately.
Okay, remind me. I must have missed it. What woke him up?
Another pod failure.
Okay, so yeah, this ship is incredibly prone to failure, isn't it? Like seriously, did nobody test this equipment
But
like at all?
Pedro, they said it could never happen.
Again, I'm pretty sure it was the exact same people that built the Death Star. Like. Well, yeah, every other piece of equipment in this ship breaks so easily. Did you expect the robots to be any different? I'm surprised Arthur is still functioning. Like,
Arthur's
seriously.
built different.
I guess so. Again, the future, ladies and gentlemen. Like, okay, guys, we're gonna put you in this hibernation pod spaceship thing for 120 years. We warn though, if anything, even like a pebble hits the spaceship, everything goes apeshit, and the equipment starts failing. But I'm sure that no problems will come from that. Like,
That's all he has to say about the fact that he has doomed a
Seriously?
woman to,
Punch him in his dick, and then you won't be able to use it on Aurora.
Okay.
So fucking what?
So
Okay,
basically,
okay.
Lawrence Fishburne's argument is, look, bitch, I know it sucks, but that's how it works. Too
Okay,
bad.
look, again, I do get it. In a lot of situations like these, a lot of people would probably succumb to that and do something similar. My issue is that the movie has the goal to basically use the climax to brush aside the ramifications of what he did. Basically, because not only will this movie go on to say, oh, technically, if he hadn't done this, then the plot wouldn't have been saved. Oh, yeah, by the way, an ominous bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, my issue is the movie. The movie says what he does, but then kind of tries to justify it with actions that there was no way he could have known of, so it's not like he was doing it for altruistic reasons. Okay, that is actually kind of a cool effect, I'll give him credit.
And now the gravity is, and now the artificial gravity is fucking up again. This is the worst, least well functioning spaceship I've ever seen.
Did that meteor strike really cause this much damage?
Apparently, but guys, they said it could never go wrong. Okay, though, I'll give him credit. That gravity effect with the swimming pool is pretty cool.
It is. I will give it that. Oh, okay.
Wait a minute, this isn't how I should be waking up. It feels like the start of a comedy. Shame she's drowning. Oh, thank goodness it actually worked now. I love how Lawrence Fishburne conveniently was in the quarters where nothing bad would happen to him while the gravity was messing up. So, yeah, if the system hadn't just fixed itself, movie would have been over there. She'd have been dead.
So what was the point of this then?
To show that the ship's
To show
really
that
going
shit's
haywire.
down.
This ship fucking sucks.
Again, guys, they said it was perfect. It was foolproof. Foolproof. God himself couldn't destroy the ship. So not only did that meteorite cause the initial failure, apparently it kicked off a chain reaction of failures that the system had no protocols built into. Dude, in the present, amusement park rides have like 1,000 different safety protocols that will shut down and help repair the systems when something goes wrong.
The only reason this movie is even happening is because the people who designed and execute this entire project are fucking idiots or fucking twats, as Liz would say. Like, seriously.
Holy cow. Yes, nothing can go wrong on a spacebound voyage that takes 120 years across the galaxy. Oh shit. 612 disorders. Jesus.
612 disorders? I'm pretty sure that means you should be dead. How can you have 612 disorders and still be alive?
The future. Modern medicine.
Is this one of those movies where hibernation pauses stuff, or what?
I mean, yeah, obviously,
guess.
but was he even ill before he was hibernating? Like, it's just like, again, like there's so much stuff in this movie that makes no sense. My goofy hibernation plot.
So basically, because his hibernation pod malfunctioned, now he has over 612 disorders. Jesus Christ.
So let me get this
And
straight.
now he's dying. Yep, you got Lawrence Fishburne in this movie just to kill him off early.
Hold on. So let me get this straight. Two things. One, so you're telling me that not only are these pods incredibly prone to failure, but if they fail, it can endanger the passenger's life. Second, so how come it did it to him but not to these other two?
Okay, I think what the implication is that he was in the pod while it was malfunctioning, whereas James, when his pod malfunctioned, it woke him up early, basically. So, like, it wasn't that he was stuck in it, basically. That being said...
You also know what this means, right, Jova?
Yep, the black guy is the first one to die.
Exactly. And this is 2016. Man, you'd think by 2016 would be over this.
Look, I'm not saying it's illegal to have the black man be the first one to die, but come on! You got Lawrence Fishburne in this movie just to basically kill him off.
Kill him, yeah. Like...
In his final moments... Dweebs, you want to tackle this one?
Take care of each other. Okay, the only way that should be interpreted in this movie is that as soon as the other passengers are safe from this situation, she breaks his neck.
Like, this is the cinematic equivalent of not being able to read the room at all.
Like, I get it. He's dying. He probably wants in his dying moments for them to be okay, but holy cow. It's so transparent that it's the movie trying to say, yep, it's okay if these two are a thing. Speaking of which, yeah, ship's kind of doomed now. See, guys, if he hadn't woken her up, he wouldn't have been able to do this on his own.
But she's not a mechanic, she's a writer.
A journalist or writer or whatever it was.
I'm a writer, not an engineer, Jim. Oh god, he actually is Jim. Okay, now Arthur's going haywire.
Wow, no, even Arthur's... Again, this entire... It boils down to this. This entire trip really was doomed to be this entire spaceship was doomed to be destroyed and explode. Right? Like, seriously. Like, me and Joe have already come up. Like, they must have made no simulations of any kind to see if the equipment was capable of resisting anything.
Something broken, something big. My dude, the whole system is failing. Hey, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, maybe we shouldn't go there.
Also, that bit where they were putting those various chips on the various things, it also felt a lot like how they take care of Al in 2001 as well.
Mm.
Well, Jim, now what?
Shoot, did they call him Jim to basically make a Star Trek? I mean, it's a common name, but Jim, James.
Jim, take the map. Oh, great, there's also a hole. More than one.
It just gets better and better, doesn't it?
That the ship's supposed to be meteor proof.
Yeah, just like the Titanic was iceberg proof. Oh wait. Oh my god, Joe, but that literally looks like that bit in the condenser chapter of Beyond Two Souls.
Oh my god, you're right.
Is this movie okay? I know I said before, originality shouldn't be used as a crutch for anything. Well, that's the thing, though. In terms, if you're a person who really values originality, you probably hate this movie.
Because, yes.
Shit.
Like, I guess you can say it's not many times a movie tries to portray a man pretty much dooming a woman to a life of exile as a good thing.
I'm
But
doing
hey,
the best I can, woman. Jeesh.
it's work. Of course. Can something on the ship actually work, please?
It means the outer door's not working. What do you? Oh.
The characters are idiots.
Look,
the characters are idiots.
Look. We're assuming the only audience who will totally let this slide are 10 years old, so we gotta explain it like you're 10. Uh-huh. Yep. That'll totally protect you against all that heat. No, don't kiss. Oh my god. Ha. Maybe she's saying that as something that's just a heat of the moment, but still, good God Almighty. But yes, I guess it shows they truly are in love. Oh, God. Jesus.
Jove, Jove, this is we were talking about this anime the other day. Like that's actually something that Rent a Girlfriend also does. Have an episode where the loser incel guy is chasing the girl throughout the entire episode and gets rewarded at the end for it. I'm not joking, by the way. I actually showed that episode to Dwibs last year. Yeah, he hated it.
Rent a
I never want
Girlfriend.
to see that show again.
Yeah, no.
I've heard some people say
don't worry, Dwibs. Everybody hates that show. You're not alone.
like Rent a Girlfriend is one of the few anime some people say is the second coming of School Days, but somehow worse than School Days. Good lord.
The thing about School Days, at least it had the mercy of ending after like it was like 22 episodes. How many episodes was it again?
12 for the main series, then 2 extra episodes. Anime
so
wise.
at least it had the decency of ending after 14 episodes. Rent a Girlfriend is still going with 370 chapters and counting.
Jesus. Like, okay, I guess part of the difference is School Days technically started as a visual novel series before it got the manga and anime. So, it already had an end in sight, but god damn, Rent a Girlfriend.
All right, back to this.
I guess it's a nice action scene. And yes, he might have to sacrifice himself.
Well,
don't worry, Dweb. He's about to
Good.
redeem himself by sacrificing himself to save her life. See?
This isn't redeeming himself. He's fixing a problem and removing himself from doing this shitty behavior to everybody else.
To be fair, Lawrence Fishburne did explain that the problem technically started 2 years ago. So this was going to happen even if Jim hadn't done anything.
And ironically,
I'm not saying this is not saying what's going on the ship is his fault. What I'm saying is that, hey, he can solve the problem, and he's no longer a threat to anybody, the fucking creep.
It is an interesting thing some people do bring up at the debate of this movie. Is this movie saying that technically this is all fate since these two together saved 5,000 people, or was the ship and everyone on it supposed to die, basically? The good news is the event was successful. The bad news is Jim might be about to become acquainted with the outer darkness of space.
That's bad news.
Well, since Aurora found out that she loves this guy, apparently that is.
That's Stockholm Syndrome.
Unfortunately, the therapist is in the sleeping pod.
How is he still alive?
Wow, I mean,
Because he's played by Chris Pratt, that's why. Just so a bit late to say that. Hmm. Yeah, okay. I've already,
Look,
I've
again,
already made that point.
they could have made this plot work if this was his penance for it, especially given what the plot will reveal later. You've only got one shot at this. You know, again, I think what really hurts the movie is how it ultimately effectively paints his actions in a positive light. Now, to be fair, the movie did point out how messed up it is what he did, but again, oh, what a shame. Just out of reach. But yeah,
Jimmy!
Jimmy!
Also, yeah, okay, yeah, I'd rather be watching Gravity.
Yeah.
Well, no, duh.
Oh, I saw that film in the cinema too.
Wait. What? Oh, yeah, it's the medical machine thingy, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry.
I love the tone of that machine. I'm sorry. The patient is dead. Would you like some
I
tears
love
with
it.
that?
I love it. Well, I love that. Well, resuscitate him. Yes, because apparently I'm God now.
Thank God voice recognition commands aren't built into that too. Just tell him the number and you're good.
I'm not gonna blow him up.
I think they're giving him stimulants and I guess the future equivalent of a defibrillator. I'm guessing.
hmm
There we go, yeah. It would actually be an interesting tragedy, though, if he still dies, thus leaving her to be alone, and then she goes through the same thing he does, and then she finds herself
Uh,
tempted by the Dark World to also try and find new companionship and waking someone else up as well.
but then the problem just spreads, and then Jim gets to, have the release of death to get rid of his loneliness. Meanwhile, this woman has to live alone till she dies.
So you're saying it's a good thing he survived?
No, I'm not. Okay, not the mechanics of the ship or anything, but in terms of this situation involving him and her, this is all his fault.
How about this, Joe? This is a shitty visual novel where no matter what path you take the story through, it's all shit.
But hey, guys, look, they're alive together and in love. But hold on, hold on. There's still a bit of movie left.
I've played hentai games with better writing than this, and better romance too.
Aw, look at that. They even patched up Arthur.
Oh, and now they're trying to.
Give him a
Okay.
proper burial, I get. A burial in space.
Well, okay. To be
I
fair,
mean, it's like how submarines do it.
yeah. To be fair, like you can't exactly leave a decaying corpse in here. It's gonna, start spreading diseases and shit.
Although
And
one would
freaking people
wonder,
out.
if in the future we'd have a special coffin for preserving the corpses.
Well, yeah, that's just what a good point. So you have hibernation pods, but you don't have coffins that can preserve.
Oh, but it turns out this pod has something like hibernation.
Excuse me.
Okay, it's specifically with Gus's ID, but yes. It turns out you can use this medical pod as a hibernation pod. However, there's only one. So, the ultimate test of their love here. Let's be honest,
Love.
what the movie suggests is love. Now, here's the idea. Give it to Aurora, and she'll wake up at Homestead too. She now has the opportunity to go back to sleep.
Do it.
Yeah,
Good.
just like he deserves. No, you won't. You'll probably just wake up somebody else.
What if he gets quote unquote lonely again?
Oh, it's
And he
okay.
decides to wake up another innocent woman.
Like you said, he'll come and visit her while she's sleeping. So, it'll be like he totally
That's
has the
even
companionship.
worse.
Well, sorry, Dwibs. The happy music suggests that it's touching.
Thomas,
Hey,
you should have scored this like a horror movie.
That's the thing. He did score it like a horror movie earlier, like when she first found out.
Tone deafness, the movie. It's not irony, the movie. It's not irony, the movie. This is tone deafness, the movie.
But wait, guys, it's just him and Arthur, which seems to imply that she, nope, surprise! She decided to stay with him because she loves him that much. You want to know the thing I find most annoying about this? This makes Lawrence Fishburne's death even more pointless. Like, if you were gonna have nobody use that damn pod, then let Lawrence Fishburne use it so that he can be the one who lives. But nope.
I mean, he's already dead.
Well, that's my point.
By the time they find that out, by the way, to be fair.
Well, that's my point, though. It's like, killing him off was truly pointless.
Yeah, it was.
He's only in the movie for like 10 minutes.
Oh, great.
If
Now they're
that.
getting married.
This is 2016. What other
Okay,
films
Dweb's
is he at this
question.
point? Yeah.
Okay, Dweb's question. Since both movies have Michael Sheen in it, what's worse and more horrible in tone deaf? This or Breaking Dawn Part 1, where they literally have Jacob literally romantically pine for a fucking newborn baby?
Oh, God.
What is it with Michael Sheen and finding himself in movies like that?
I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to remind you that Stephanie Meyer wrote that, and nobody in the publishing company, nobody said, Stephanie, this is a bit.
The only thing worse than that is if in a movie, the actor IRL, who's a really creepy person.
Wait, Andy
he does all that
Garcia?
stuff. He's like, yeah. This is He's barely in this movie.
Why would you get Andy Garcia for just a bit role where he doesn't even talk? But look at that, guys. They made plants grow everywhere. It is their living legacy.
Oh yeah, this is the speech that's meant to try to give the movie some kind of meaning.
Holy cow. You know, nearly a decade later, and no, this movie is still crap. And you know, the thing is, it's not like it's crap from the core, it's just that it takes a few bad decisions that careen it off the deep end. Like, you could have had virtually the same story, just either A, don't have it that it's Jim that wakes up Aurora, or B, have it be that Jim truly is punished for his actions instead of just what is basically the equivalent of a second act breakup, which involves them getting back together. The fact that Aurora even gives up a chance to go back to sleep because apparently she's fallen that much in love with him is insane. Were there any reshoots or deleted scenes we're aware of?
Not that I know of. No, this is one of those movies where it's one of those cases where it's a shit film, but it had a relatively smooth production. Like you can't even blame this on something got screwed up during filming. No, this film was shit at the
Yeah,
conception, and it just was, and it was shit throughout. It was just handled competently in terms of the production schedule.
like, you know, in spite of our jokes about how it's a miracle this movie even came to be, that's more so just from the fact that it took a long time for someone to pick it up. But it seems that once they finally got the cast and crew put together, the cameras rolled on just fine.
Miracle. I'd say this is more like a nightmare.
Alright, Dwibs, how about you go first with your final thoughts?
Okay, I noticed earlier that some critics likened this to one of those really disturbing fantasies,
Uh-huh.
and I can see why. The movie's got everything associated with that. The creep who's ultimately vindicated in the end, bizarrely. The Stockholm syndrome trope used badly. It's not even like the movie's all that interesting to help somewhat compensate for that. When it's not being extremely creepy and honestly, I think even toxic, because it's portraying this film as, oh, don't worry, yeah, you're essentially doomed with basically your stalker, but it will all work out in the end.
And they have so many chances that they could have used to at least make it not as creepy or bad to the point where she even sacrifices her life just to be with this man. But the movie either needed to be longer to really, really try and justify this relationship, or it needed to rip off the band-aid and just have it be that either he dies or she just goes on to live. Well, you know, she goes into the pod basically.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Instead, we get this. Okay, when it's not being creepy, it's being really dull. The set design of the movie, of the spaceship and everything, it's like every other spaceship I've ever seen. It's like generic in terms of its design. It looks nothing special. The performances were fine, but damn, the material they had, it's wretched.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not a dull sci-fi story, it's a really toxic wish fulfillment fantasy film. I, I'm sorry, I can't get behind a film like this. I regret giving this film a chance when I saw it in the cinema, because I was like, okay, hey, a sci-fi movie that's not based on anything pre-established, so I'll give it a chance. No, I regret spending the £7 I did on it.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's terrible. And again, I mean, the direction's nothing special, but I mean, Jesus Christ, how come it was bought in Tildums theatrical filmmaking career that died, but John Spates somehow managed to get more work after this.
Boggles the mind, doesn't it? Like, because I would honestly
Yeah,
agree that I feel like the writing is the main culprit more than anything else.
Yeah, as like I said, this film was a bit of an eye opener, at least to me. Yes, Prometheus sucked, but maybe people's reactions of blaming everything on David Lindelof back in 2012 was a bit overblown. Maybe John Spates was just a shit writer in the first place. Damn, this is probably the most harsh I've been on the movie in a while. And, and this is the second time I'm commentating on it. But
Yep.
but yeah, I stand by it. It's shit. It's definitely one of the worst films I saw that year.
So, question, Debs. If you had to, if I strapped you to a chair and forced you to pick between one of these two movies, which one would you pick? This one or Old?
I'd rather you just shoot me in the head.
Jesus.
Okay, fine. I'll make you. I'll pick a third option. Breaking Dawn Part 1.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, Michael Sheen is at least somewhat more fun in that one.
That is true.
I mean, he's fine in this movie too, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Since we mentioned box office earlier, before I go, oh, damn! I just realised I was looking up what competition this film had at the box office.
Yes.
It came out on December 21st, 2016.
Oh, shoot. This
Okay,
could technically have been a Christmas pick.
Yeah, its competition included released on the same day included Sing, Patriots Day, and the only movie I think could maybe be somewhat worse than this one, Assassin's Creed.
Ooh. So, yeah, Sing one, I'm guessing.
I guess I haven't seen Sing or Patriots Day.
I'm assuming since, that was like Illumination at one of their peak Illumination moments, basically, and Sing, from what I have seen, is not awful.
No, okay. Let me put it this way, because I know the first Sing is fine. The second one, in my opinion, dropped the ball.
But yeah, this movie sucks. I never want to see it again. I'd much rather watch anything else that Pratt and Lawrence have been in.
Even the Hunger Games?
Yes, even the bloody Hunger Games.
I can take it Dibs not a fan of those.
I asked because I know Dibs is not a fan of those movies.
The first one, the one with the god awful cinematography.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I'd even take fucking Dark Phoenix over this.
All right, Pedro.
This movie. Okay, so this movie is a lot of fun for all the wrong reasons.
Yep.
The primary main sticking point for me, of course, is the fucking plot, which is riddled with so many more holes than a fucking piece of Swiss cheese.
More holes than the ship itself.
Yeah, more holes than the ship itself. Like seriously, how did the hell did this thing get past any sort? Again, I guess I just answered my own question. There was no quality control. Thank you. Seriously, nobody test the materials on this ship? Did nobody make sure that we had some kind of safety measure in case one of the passengers gets woken up? No, we have no way of properly planning for any eventuality that can happen. They didn't plan for anything. It seems like they just came up with the technology to put people hibernating, and as well as space travel, and there you go. That's it. Like we don't have. There's no point in trying to come up with some contingencies for whatever can go wrong. Nah, who cares about this? Because so basically, what you're telling me is that this expedition was doomed from the beginning.
But by the grace of God, because technically three, since three specific people happened to be awake, the entire ship was saved. It's a miracle.
Okay, so, like I've said, aside from that, yes, the plot is incredibly tone deaf. Jim is an absolutely horrendous character, and the plot doesn't really do a good job. Again, like I said, they try to have him be self-sacrificial there to see if they can redeem himself, but by that point, it's too little, too late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like not like, but it's not even just the fact that the story is tone deaf. Like, the story is shallow because it doesn't have much of anything grand to say about this. Like, it tries to do they try to have that speech at the end. Oh, but don't you see, like we're in life, we have to make the most of it, and blah 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 blah. No, you didn't earn that. And of course, the characters are not particularly well written. They're bland. They're not particularly interesting. It's just not very well thought out in general. The music is the best thing, of course. I do like the special effects, especially like with the water doing the non-gravity sequence. That was pretty cool. I can also tell that the production designer, or at the very least somebody I in the chain, was clearly a Kubrick fan. So there's that. Yeah, that's basically it. It's not good. That being said, like I said, this is the kind of movie where you just save it for bad movie night and watch with your friends while you have some drinks. There you go. That's what this movie's for. So it has that going for it. It's not boring. I will say, at the very least, it's not boring. I will say that. All right, that's it for me. Go ahead.
Oh boy. Yeah. No, this movie's bad. Like, the few defenses I can maybe come up in mind with them each get obliterated as the movie just sinks itself into the grave further and further, essentially. Like, okay, the premise is questionable from the get-go. A man dooms a woman to fall in love with him, essentially. Now, coincidentally, them both being awake is what allows him to save the plot, but he didn't know that he needed her awake for that. I really should emphasize that it really is just a happy coincidence that they needed two people alive for that bit, essentially. Oh, and Lawrence Fishburne is there for like 20 minutes before dying. God damn it. I guess technically our two main leads died off screen, but I'm guessing that was ironically the least of Dwibs' worries for once. Although, to be fair, they kind of got their quote-unquote happy ending, so I can get why that overshadows such in his eyes. The best things here are the music and some of the special effects, most notably the gravity bit with the pool scene. Other than that, the design of the ship is naff. Most of it is stuff I feel like I've seen before. Assuming that the homages to Kubrick were intentional, good eye there, the bar room scene and the 2001 A Space Odyssey homages, those were nice and everything. All the actors are definitely giving it their all, turning in good performances. It's just that the script really does not give them anything to work with, I'm sorry, The script, the writer is the main culprit with the problems here. The director may not have been flawless, but I feel like the director was, doing his job overall. Like, again, the scenes seem properly acted and they flow properly. The camera work is decent too. Again, the main problem is the writing. Again, I get it. He's not made of stone. I can kind of get why he did it. My issue is that the plot treats it with kitty gloves, relatively speaking. The guy still gets his happy ending. Aurora falls in love with this fool, which again, maybe one could argue it's Stockholm Syndrome, but the movie never treats it like that, is the problem. No, the movie treats this like a truly happy ending, because look at the life they made together. Ugh. It's insane how this all got okayed. Oh, by the way, Even though he'll probably cost us more money, here's Andy Garcia in a non-speaking role for a few seconds. Makes about as much sense as everything else in the movie. Foolproof system, so foolproof that they didn't bother to put in safety protocols against, something like a meteor possibly getting through the shield, which, oh, look at that, it did. Like, this is an idiot plot that really has to stretch the suspension of disbelief to let itself happen. And for what? A schlocky romance plot. Which, wouldn't even be that schlocky if, they didn't have it so that he doomed her. You could have just as much had it be that they woke up at the same time. Maybe the idea was, in spite of all the hardships, she overcame them to see that she truly loved him. But man, no, this movie weighs itself down so badly with the fact that he effectively doomed that woman, murdered her as she puts it, but in the end, she's okay with that. Now, yes, technically it is her choice to stay with him in the end, as the movie makes clear, I guess, to say that, oh, well, he learned his lesson, and she truly loves him. I still call bullcrap on that, and shoot, what if one of them died before the other? Wouldn't they then want to use the pod? Or, oh wait, on this oh-so-stellar ship, can it only be activated from the outside? Jesus Christ. To surmise, this movie is not good. Not good. It could have been better. It had several opportunities to be better. The music is way too good for this movie, and is so good that at times it feels like it's supposed to be music for a different movie. Yeah, this thing's a train wreck. I don't recommend watching it unless you're completely in riffing mode. And ideally do it with company, because you don't want to be lonely during this film travesty. And that was our Generations commentary of Passengers, just reminding us that, yes, some things don't get better with age. In fact, I'd argue this one got worse. Tune in for what we commentate on next.
See ya.